Hello, my name is Benji Wangele, and for my JavaScript school project, um, I created a random quote generator. So the basics of this program is very simple. Is HTML, CSS, and um, okay, don't mind me. I'm really tired right now. But let's get through this. So, like I said, I'm creating a random quote generator, and so I wrote the HTML. So this is the HTML right here. Um, so this is the top, this is the header, this is the section I created for the quotes, and I created different div elements for the quotes and the author of the quotes. As you can see, this is the quote text, this is the um, author of the quote. So I also created a div element for spinner, so it's like a web animation for when the quotes are being loaded. So there's also a different section for the controls, different things. So let me show you what the page looks like. So this is the page. So you can see the heading, you can see the code text, you can see the author, you can see the different controls. This generates a new code. This enables you to tweet it. So it's pretty straightforward. The CSS is not why we're here. We're here for the JavaScript. So that's why I'll be explaining how I did what I did the most. So let's go to the beginning. So you see that the first thing I do is to declare a date variable at the top of the JavaScript code. That thing looks awkward up there on this one. Let me see if I can bring it down. Maybe I'll write something there some other time. So I set some constants of how I want the days to be, the dates. So this variable is to initiate a new date object. So I name it D. So here I get the element ID current date. You can see the ID here in this span in my HTML. So I select it basically, and current text date equals to, so I change it to the local to English Great Britain string. So I use these options. You can see that is, I want the big day to be long, the year to be numeric, the months to be long, the day to be numeric. So you can see that day is long, this one is numeric, this one is long, this one is numeric. So this is where I do it. So I get the year and put the full year in the year. Now it's straightforward. So um so now I select the JS Suite ID, which is this button. Let me show you the HTML first. So this is the ID, and it is a button, as you can see. Sorry. Oh, I didn't even make it a button. I just made it a link. Interesting. Okay. So, but this is what it looks like. So this is the tweet button link, I guess, apparently. So I also created an ID for the spinner, this that I told you. So I use CSS to decide like how long and short each of these classes would be, rec1, rec2, rec3, rec4, rec5. So but that's not what I'm interested in right now. So I also select the element for the new code, which is this. I'm sorry. So I mean the button here. Sorry, I'm really tired. Uh, so I now instantiate my endpoint. So this is the link I'm getting my random code from, is the API I'm using. So I create a function to get a code and async function. The reason why you need an async function is because await and fetch and all these things don't work in normal functions. They have to be inside an async function. So the first thing you see that I do when I want to get a code is I disable I remove the animation, then I disable the button. So a disabled button, most browsers will turn it gray like this. So you see it's gray now. You can, when it's gray, you can tap it again. So that's why I do it. I disabled it. So I now try to fetch the data from this constant, this API. And I use await. The reason why I use await is so that the code doesn't keep executing while it's waiting for this. So if you forget to use await many times, if you're not careful, codes that is dependent, for example, on your code, you have A, B, and C, and B and C is dependent on A. So now imagine that B and C execute before A. You can see how that would be a problem. So we use that way to get rid of that. So I say if the response, so I put the result to the response variable. So if the response is not okay, then throw an error, right? If that is not the case, the code will just keep on executing. So I change it to a JSON object and call these two functions, the display code function and the set tweet button function. And there's anything to catch, throw an alert that failed to catch new code, failed to fetch new code. So an alert will normally pop down from the top of the screen. So finally, this finally is important because here I reactivate that button. So if I forget to do this, the button would still be disabled. Here I set disabled to true. Here I change it to false. So I make sure that at the end of the execution of the async function, the button must eventually end up at false, to allow the user the opportunity to click again if you desire. So I add the spinner class again. So to display the quote, I simply select this div element I've already set aside, I've already created in my HTML document for the text and for the author's name, the quote's author's name. So I select the one for the text first. I call it quote text. I select the element for the ID for the quote author, and I call it quote author. So I now assign the content of quote dot content. Now this dot content is important because one thing I did was I went and checked the API that I'm using. So if you click on it, I think it's control click. Okay, yeah, it has open. So if you go here, it gives you an example, like it gives you a random code. So that's what the API does. So but the important thing is that you want to look at the keys, so to speak. So you see, this is a key, this is a value. This is a key, this is a value. I'm talking mostly in Python terms, but key and their values are key value pairs are separated by commas, but the key comes before the value. So you see that to get the quote, the key is content. And to get the name of the author, Francis Bacon, the key is author, right? That's important to note. You need to know which parameters to use to call different parts of whatever it is your API returns to you. If not, it will throw an error. If you go and put an arbitrary key that is not there, like if I go and put content, content, this is not going to work because my JavaScript is going to look for that key and it's not going to find it, and the code is not going to work. So I assign this the quotes.content to this element in the HTML. I assign code.author to this ID in the HTML. And for the tweet, I set the tweet attribute, which is to put a href attribute, which is basically where the link would point to. I set it to Twitter's, to let's say tweet box, like where you go to make a tweet. So I said that the code.content and the code.author is what I'll be already populated in the box. So these two functions, I just call it in the async function. So you notice that you don't need to call the async function anywhere separately. You just write it and it executes. So that's it in short, how my JavaScript works, and I hope you learned something. I definitely learned a lot of things from going through this with you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.